All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Hope you all are doing well. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what is happening with Bitcoin. So, looking at the daily here, I know JP drew this out yesterday on Sin City Crypto, but you can see we're kind of in this rising wedge pattern here. I think you could even make it more refined here, pull from this wick, or, we did break out of it, we got back into it, and it looks like right now at least we are breaking down out of it. Um, I'm not 100% sure if we're going to hit this full measured move here. This is, the measured move of this ascending or rising wedge here. Um, but you know, as far as liquidity goes, there's a lot in here. There's a lot of double bottoms. There's a lot of, you know, equal lows, right? That we could easily take out with some 786 levels. So, as far as where this could possibly go down to, it really is going to depend on what our bias is. Are we in a more of a bullish bias now? And if so, it probably won't make the full measured move. However, if we're going to continue our bearish bias, there's a good chance that we, take the full measured move or even further than that. So let's go ahead and drill down into the 12 hour. So on the 12 hour, it's still it's really showing that rising wedge even more so, right, than the daily. You can see that we're breaking down further from it. Let's go into the 4 hour and see kind of where we're at. So the 4 hour, you do have your 21 and 50 MA curving upward, which is a good sign. But again, we could be potentially testing. We broke through some support levels, right? So we could be potentially testing some support levels, even retesting this pattern as well before breaking down further. So it's really going to be interesting to see what happens today. If we do have a bullish week this week, I would like to see price drop once we hit 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, just to basically make the wick or the bottom for the week, and then that way we have room to move on up. Now lately it's been more of a bottom on Monday or Tuesday or even Wednesday, so it doesn't necessarily have to do that. We could possibly even get a pump later on today, this evening. But one thing I wanted to point out is you can see this is my tether dominance chart. I do have it as an indicator, but you can see that we kind of are in this falling wedge pattern, and we're breaking out of that. So that's a bullish sign for tether dominance, and I think I posted that in the group last night as well. But that's not a great sign for us. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to make this full measured move here, but just something to be aware of that we are breaking out of this now. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what our smaller time frames show to see what might be happening today. So as far as the small time frames go, the hourly, looks like a pretty bearish close here. Going to possibly retest the support level at 64,058. Let me go ahead and pull a fib to see kind of where price might be going to first. I'm probably going to pull from this bottom wick right here and then up. Let's see here. I think that's at 63, around that 63,303 area. Yeah, so it's a little bit lower than that. I think I maybe pulled from this one right here. Yeah, so this, I would probably say maybe pull from this low for right now. We could breach through it, but I would like to see us basically stay above our weekly open around 63,303. Okay, if we breach that, before this weekly candle closes, that's going to be more of our kind of our bearish sign, right? Because then that will mean that the weekly closes in a bearish compression candle for the most part, unless we get a major move down, and then it will be more of a bearish expansion candle. But more than likely, since we are going to be closing within the next 8 hours or so, we're going to, there's a potential we close a bearish compression candle around here if we stay around here. I would, like at most for this bottom to be taken out right here, this equal bottom. So, coming down here, slowly making our way down, and then, maybe take a shot and going back up here. So this is still in play in my opinion. That 63, I think it's 63 400 area that I've been targeting. I'll check liquidity as well and try to line that up, but this is in play for right now in my opinion. This is the first move that's in play, and then we'll see where we go from there. Um, Taking a look at the 15 minutes, so we did lose that 200 MA, which is a bearish sign. We have the 21, possibly starting to get a death cross. And, one thing that I like to do is if you were to flip this upside down, you can definitely see that this is something that you'd be playing bullishly, right? You have kind of this bullish triangle. Again, this is kind of a symmetrical triangle, I would say, that usually breaks to the downside, but in a continuation pattern like we've been seeing, it's probably going to be breaking up like this. So that would be flipping that would be looking something like this. So, again, this measured move kind of takes you down to 63,540, which is right around this area. So a good potential long entry, not financial advice, would potentially be around this area. There's a big pool of liquidity, I'm pretty sure, around this area. So we'll take a look at that right now. Let me leave that in. All right, so taking a look at our trading different liquidity heat map. This is my main liquidity heat map tool here. So, taking a look at this, you can see that we have quite a bit of liquidity below us still in between this range like we've been targeting here. Let's dive into the 4-hour though before we start getting into the smaller time frames. So 4-hour, we barely missed this green pool of liquidity right here. And I know that JP was eyeing this yesterday. And, there's a good possibility that we will take this out within the next week, okay? That's as long as we stay within a bullish bias. Now, whether or not that's going to be at the beginning of the week or the end of the week, it's really going to depend on how we open the week. Okay, if we're going to open the week and it's bearish, there's a decent chance that we're going to take this sooner rather than later. Ideally, if we're going to have a bullish week, I would like to see us take this probably towards the middle to the end of the week, like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time frame. But there's a potential that we take it, fairly soon, depending on, where we bounce off of potentially. You still see that there's some liquidity down here. It looks like on a good news basis, we did lose this 59,777 liquidity area. So when we lose bridges like this and liquidity changes, that means obviously people are taking profits, but it's a good thing because that means that we don't have as much of we're getting more gaps down here. So we don't have as much of a bridge to really come down here. Worst case scenario for right now, what I'm seeing on the 4-hour is we take out this 61,000, 400 to 700 area right here, which I believe would be probably a fib pull from maybe right here. Yeah, so that's a fib pull from, this equal low right here. Which again, unfortunately I'm also targeting that as well because that's a double bottom, but like I said before, at one point we're going to leave, one of these double bottoms alone and just kind of move up from there. So there's a chance that we get down here into the 61,570 and then bounce from there. Just kind of keep that in mind as we drill down into these smaller time frames. So looking at the 1-hour right here, kind of we're able to see more so that area I've been targeting, right? This double bottom. So, yeah, 50x it takes away that green area, but 100x is that concentrated liquidity, and we can really see, that's a major area. Now there is a potential that we bounce right here. This is some concentrated liquidity right here. I just personally would like to see a deeper dig unless we've flipped, extremely bullish on the macro time frame, which is also possible. But I am for today, I still have my limit order down here. I'm still targeting this area, okay? I think that there's a good chance that we get down here. So Just take that with a grain of salt. Again, not financial advice, but I am targeting this area to possibly, hopefully get my long entry filled and then take this up. Um, let's see, 50x shows that we can even get down into here, so that would be taking out this double bottom right here. So let me go ahead and mark this one as well. This is kind of a quadruple or quintuple bottom, I guess you could call it, but 62,512-ish area. It looks like we would be front running it potentially, taking out this green liquidity. But this is another possibility. So unfortunately, on our way up here, our slow grind up, we've made a lot of double bottoms. So it's going to be very interesting to see how many of these we take out. Okay. And then finally, for a shorter term time frame for the 15-minute, and we'll compare this with Kiyotaka right now, but 15-minute, you can see that it's going to be very similar to the 1 hour. 100x is what gets taken out first, so again, targeting this area first, and then 50x shows us we can get down into here, the 62,512 area. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, more than likely, there's a decent chance that maybe we start slowly grinding down here, or we may just take it all in one go if we do a drop for the weekly open come Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now looking at liquidity, or sorry, the heat map order book over here with Kiyotaka, you can see that we have some major orders up here around 65,000-ish, which would be getting us up into this upper area right here. And then we do have a decently sized order around 63.5, which is kind of right above this area that I'm targeting right here. And I think 63.5 would be right around here or whatnot. So, and then it looks like another order just came in around 63.325. So that's really right around this area. So, depending on where direction wants to go, there's a good chance that we take some of this out and then come back up, or we could take this little speck of liquidity out around 64.325 and drop down. It's going to be interesting to see today. More than likely, because we had a somewhat more of an expansion candle yesterday, we could, following that pattern we've been doing for a while, we could see a compression candle today. So there might not be a lot of price action today for Bitcoin, but we shall see. Anyways, guys, that is your update for today. Just some levels to watch and areas to watch for the short time being. But I hope you enjoyed this video and you find it informative. Take care. I will talk to you all tomorrow. All right, see ya.